I'm not a politician. I'm not a philosopher. I'm a filmmaker. And I don't pretend to be anything else.
Lee Daniels stands as a groundbreaking force in entertainment. As a gifted producer, writer, and filmmaker, he has earned global acclaim throughout a career that has lasted over 30 years. Throughout that time, he's challenged the status quo, urging Hollywood to embrace diversity. He's done so through a series of bold, culture-shifting projects, from the intense drama Precious to the music-driven power struggle of Empire. According to Lee, his work is simply a reflection of the world he knows intimately, his own family. As he openly admits, emotional pain lies at the core of many of his stories. The very family he often highlights in his work hasn't always offered him warmth or support. His life has been shaped by constant change, coping, and survival. Lee was raised in Philadelphia, where his father, William Daniels, worked as a police officer. Tragically, his father often inflicted violence on both Lee and his mother. That cycle of abuse ended only after William lost his life while trying to stop a robbery. Lee was just 15 years old then, but the scars from that relationship linger to this day. Though many of Lee's questions about his father remain unanswered, he understands what has helped him move forward. After his father's death, Lee's mother faced serious challenges raising him and ultimately made a bold move that altered both their lives. She chose to use the address of a well-off friend, a decision that would help reshape their future. They pretended to live in the suburbs so Lee could enroll in a higher-quality school district. What Lee didn't expect was to eventually uncover a once scandalous chapter of his family history now long buried. It all started with his grandfather on his father's side, Otis Daniels, a man who helped raise Lee and brought rare moments of joy to an otherwise difficult youth. Lee clearly held a deep affection for his grandfather. Yet he knew very little about where Otis came from. As we began digging into the past, the reasons for that became clearer. In the 1930s census records for Durham, North Carolina, Otis and his mother, Ada, appear living in an unusual arrangement. Lee's inquiry struck at the core of a long-standing family riddle. What had happened to Ada's husband, Otis's father? There were no clear documents to answer that question. Otis's marriage certificate from 1940 named his father as William Daniels and noted he had passed away, but no trace of William could be found. Meanwhile, Lee's DNA matched with a surprising network of individuals, all connected to a man named Rufus Hunter. This was a startling discovery because Rufus wasn't just a relative by marriage. He had been married to Otis's older sister, Laura Hunter, and fathered her daughter, Ruth. But DNA evidence pointed to something even more complex. Rufus also had children with Ada, Laura's mother, and all of them had once lived together under the same roof. After confirming the identities of Otis's parents, we were able to trace even further back along this line of Lee's ancestry. Otis's grandfather. Lee's great-great-grandfather was a man named Novel Daniel. Born into bondage around the year 1800, Novel likely lived in Wake County, North Carolina. As we searched for details about his life, a significant clue emerged. In 1850, a local white man named Zach Daniel submitted a slave schedule. The document recorded that Zach Daniel enslaved 10 individuals. We began to suspect that Novel might have been among them. The slave schedule listed people only by age, sex, and race, not by name, so at first, we couldn't confirm if one of the entries referred to Lee's ancestor. But then, we uncovered a critical piece of evidence: Zach Daniel's will. In it, he listed the enslaved people he owned by name. That discovery removed all doubt. Novel's journey didn't end in bondage. He eventually gained his freedom and began a family. Yet, like many African Americans born in his era, the odds were stacked against him. Despite surviving slavery, he was unable to achieve financial security in the racially oppressive Jim Crow South. He passed away as a farmer, likely working as a sharecropper still in the same region of North Carolina where he had spent most of his life enslaved. Novel Daniels stands as the earliest known ancestor we could trace on this side of Lee's lineage. Beyond him, the trail faded into history. Reflecting on the journey we'd taken, Lee was struck by how much of his family's past had been buried, ignored, or erased over time. We had already delved into Lee Daniels' paternal ancestry, unraveling the mystery of his grandfather's origins. Shifting focus to his maternal line, we moved back 2 generations to his great-grandparents, Edward and Mary Watson, and uncovered a secret of a very different nature. Remarkably, the family's version of events held true. We verified the tragic tale through a report in the Philadelphia Inquirer dated March 30th, 1922. Despite the odds, Edward survived an attempt to take his own life, only to face trial for murdering his wife. Deemed mentally unstable by the court, he was committed to a state facility for the criminally insane in Fairview, Pennsylvania. But Edward didn't remain at the hospital. His discharge documents revealed that, after 6 years, he simply walked away unauthorized. And what followed took an unexpected turn, one that left both Lee and me puzzled, as Edward's path after Fairview defied easy explanation. Edward made his way back to Philadelphia, secured employment at a local newspaper, and managed to reconnect with his children even though he had taken their mother's life. I had one final revelation for Lee. He had previously shared that as a child, he felt a strong bond with his maternal grandmother's relatives, the Lecans. According to Lee, the Lecans were musical, full of life, and brought joy into family gatherings. He was eager to learn more about their roots. Our investigation led us to Lee's third great-grandparents, Peter and Mary Ann Collins. Their names appeared in the 1850 federal census for Philadelphia, an important clue about their social standing. At the time Peter and Mary Ann were living in Philadelphia, the city was considered a thriving hub for free African Americans, a rare space of relative safety and opportunity. Philadelphia boasted a vibrant Black community with flourishing churches, businesses, and civic groups. However, Peter and Mary Ann weren't native to the city. Both were born in Delaware, just a short distance south but culturally and politically worlds apart. In Delaware, even free Black residents were bound by harsh and limiting laws. Their freedoms were severely curtailed, and harsh penalties loomed over even minor infractions. Following the Civil War, Philadelphia became home to the largest African American population in the North. Still, it was far from a haven. Black citizens faced an uphill battle, locked out of opportunities and pushed to the margins by a fast-evolving society dominated by systemic racism and a flood of new immigrants. Lee's forebears ended up in predominantly Black communities, characterized by overcrowded tenements and underfunded, inadequate schools. His third great-grandfather, Peter, labored in physically demanding jobs, fighting to support his family under difficult conditions. That hardship didn't end with him. It was passed down through generations, and Lee felt a deep sense of appreciation for all that they endured so he could thrive. The documented history had reached its limit for Lee Daniels. It was now time to reveal his complete ancestral map. Lee's DNA results revealed just how intertwined African and European lineages are, and how often those ties are overlooked or deliberately concealed. Lee had long believed he carried a notable amount of Native American ancestry, but genetic testing told a different tale. That unexpected revelation led to yet another. When we cross-referenced Lee's DNA with that of previous participants in our series, we discovered a notable genetic match, clear evidence of a cousin he had never met, someone likely connected through shared European ancestry. Lee and Mia both carry an identical segment of DNA on chromosome 4, pointing to a distant shared forebear hidden within their family histories. Lee Daniels' journey into his past revealed buried truths, untold struggles, and unexpected connections. In rediscovering the lives of those who came before him, he unearthed not just history, but healing. How many of our own stories remain hidden, waiting to be found? If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more content.
Julia Roberts hardly needs an introduction. The adored actress, known for her unforgettable smile, has been a dominant force in the film industry for over 30 years. In fact, it's difficult to picture modern Hollywood without her presence. Yet, Julia's rise to fame wasn't guaranteed. She was raised in Smyrna, Georgia, a town just outside of Atlanta. Her parents first crossed paths as young actors chasing their dreams, and while their relationship eventually ended, their passion for the craft lived on and was instilled in their children. After graduating from high school, Julia headed to New York, determined to pursue a career on stage. The shift to city life wasn't easy, but her mother offered steady encouragement. Julia stayed in New York, though recognition didn't come overnight. She began her journey by selling athletic shoes at a retail store and spent years trying to break into the entertainment world. During that time, she picked up a lesson that would guide her throughout life and career. For Julia, the idea of growth holds deep personal significance. Over time, she seamlessly transitioned from starring in blockbuster romantic comedies. From romantic comedies, Julia transitioned into darker, more intense roles, broadening my acting repertoire and reinforcing her status in Hollywood with each performance. As she reflects on all she's achieved, Julia turns her thoughts back to her parents and the challenges they faced, feeling a profound sense of thankfulness. Though she grew up in Georgia, Julia always knew that her mother's side of the family hailed from Minnesota. She had heard stories of Swedish ancestry, but was never certain whether they were based in fact. So we began tracing her roots, starting with the 1940 U.S. Census in Minnesota, where we found Julia's mother, Betty Lou Bredemus, living with her parents and a 56-year-old widow named Lenore Bredemus. Lenore, whose birth name was Elon, was Julia's great-grandmother, a direct, intangible link to her Scandinavian heritage. That single census record launched a broader search, eventually leading us to Värmland, a province in west-central Sweden. There, we located Elon's baptismal certificate, which not only identified her parents, Julia's great-great-grandparents, but also offered revealing glimpses into their lives. The church records painted a picture reminiscent of the Sweden many of us imagine, peaceful, scenic, and secure. But the Sweden that Julia's ancestors experienced was far more complicated. The region where Elon's family lived was far from idyllic. Her parents, Julia's second great-grandparents, were named Johan and Emma Jansen. According to Elon's baptismal record, they were identified as statare, a Swedish term for itinerant farm workers who owned no land and moved from one estate to the next seeking seasonal employment. This system appeared almost intentionally structured to keep such workers trapped in poverty. Statare formed a distinct and disadvantaged class in Swedish society, positioned at the very bottom of the social hierarchy. They often lived in communal dormitories, with several families crowded into the same space. These living quarters were typically damp, overcrowded, and infested with rats and other pests, as well as diseases like tuberculosis and dysentery. Children like Elon rarely received a proper education, if they received one at all. Yet Julia's ancestors had one significant source of hope. They were part of a massive wave of migration. During the 1880s, more than 300,000 Swedes left their homeland in search of a better life in America. Many Swedish immigrants made their new homes in the American Midwest, drawn by opportunities they could never have found in their homeland. Johan and Emma were among them, becoming part of a growing immigrant community where mutual support helped them build better lives. We had one final discovery to share about this branch of Julia's family. Back in Sweden, an abundance of church records allowed us to trace her lineage all the way to her sixth great-grandparents, born nearly 300 years ago in small villages across Värmland. By following her maternal line so far back, we were able to reintroduce Julia to generations of Swedish ancestors whose names had faded from memory after the families moved to the U.S. Next, we shifted our focus to Julia's paternal heritage, a line that took us to southwest Georgia and revealed a missing name for an entirely different reason. This chapter began with Julia's great-grandfather, John Roberts, who was raised on a farm by his mother, Rhoda Suttle. Searching through local records in Georgia's county archives, we found that sometime in the 1850s, Rhoda married a man named Willis Roberts. Although Julia still bears the Roberts surname, we learned that Willis died in 1864, more than 10 years before Rhoda gave birth to John. Julia's paternal lineage may not have descended from Willis Roberts, after all. To investigate further, we asked two of Julia's father's first cousins, also descendants of John Roberts, to take DNA tests. We then analyzed their results using public genetic databases, searching for overlaps and potential familial connections that might point us to John's biological father through his descendants' DNA. Ultimately, we identified a cluster of genetic matches linking both Julia and her cousin to one individual. While we can't know for sure whether Rhoda ever revealed the identity of John's father to him, there's reason to believe she may have kept it hidden. The 1880 census provides a potential explanation. When John was just 2 years old, a man named Henry Mitchell, identified as his biological father, was living nearby with his wife, Sarah, and their 6 children. This discovery adds another layer to Julia's family story, hinting at complexities that may have remained unspoken for generations. Unfortunately, Henry Mitchell remained an elusive figure in more ways than one. Sometime after 1880, he left Georgia to Arkansas, where he essentially vanished from the historical record. But while Henry's personal story faded into mystery, his family lineage, Julia's newly discovered Mitchell ancestry, could be traced much further back, reaching deep into colonial Virginia in the 1700s. There was still one final revelation I wanted to share with Julia, a story that would bring added depth and complexity to her evolving family history. On her paternal grandmother's side, we traced the line to Julia's 4th great-grandfather, a man named Edward Townsend. In the 1850 census, we found Edward living in Georgia, where he owned a large farm spanning over 2,000 acres. But land wasn't the only thing he possessed. That discovery brought a difficult but necessary truth to light. With that, the paper trail had reached the end for guests. It was time to explore their complete family trees and let their DNA reveal even deeper ancestral connections. And when we compared Julia's results with every previous participant in the series, she and Edward were met with a surprising revelation neither could have predicted. Our analysis revealed strong DNA matches, clear signs of a distant familial connection between them. It uncovered a previously unknown bond, one neither Julia nor her cousin could have ever imagined. And with that, our exploration into Julia Roberts' ancestry comes to a close. Join me next time as we continue to uncover the hidden stories of the past for new guests on another episode. If you found this video informative and enjoyed the journey, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a thoughtful comment below, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories from the past. Your support helps us keep uncovering the history that shapes us all.